Hi, I'm Helen from Blue Light Yoga Academy, and this practice today is a de-stressing practice that is great after a hard day at work. So let's begin. We'll start on our backs in a pose called constructive rest. So just come down to lay on your back with your knees bent, feet flat to the floor. You can actually bring the feet out just to the edges of the mat and allow the knees to knock inwards, gently supporting each other. Keep the shoulders down the back, palms face upwards, and keep the back of the neck long, chin slightly tucked. So you can stay here, or if it feels more comfortable, you can bring one hand to the belly and one hand to the chest. And we'll just start to center in on the breath. Lengthen in the inhale and lengthen in the exhale. And just repeat this pattern in a natural rhythm for you. So as you lay here, really allow the body to melt into the floor. Just relax as much as you can. Make sure the jaw is relaxed and the tongue is away from the roof of the mouth. And just feel yourself being supported by the earth, feeling grounded and calming down. Focusing in on the breath, letting go of any issues that you've encountered during the day. The day's over. It's just time to let go and time to do something good for you. And then from here, we'll slowly bring the knees up and into the chest. Arms circle around the shins if that feels good. Just rock gently from side to side, massaging out the sacrum, which is the triangular bone at the base of the spine. And then bring the knees to center. And you're going to open the arms and just place them on the ground so the elbows are coming out parallel to the shoulders. The backs of the forearms are on the floor and the palms are facing upwards. So this is like a cactus arms, this is known as. This is a slight chest opener and shoulder opener. Bring the knees directly above the hips, shins parallel to the floor, and as you exhale, you're going to allow the knees to fall gently over to the left. They may or may not reach the floor. Try and keep both shoulders on the floor, and if it feels good on the neck, you can turn the head to face the right and just melt down here. So you should feel a stretch in this right side body and the right outer hip. Breathing here, letting go. So twists are really good for the health of our spine. Healthy spines are the key to the overall health of the body. If you ever put your back out, you'll know that it basically cripples you and you can't do anything. So really taking care of our spines, keeping them mobile and strong and supple, can do wonders for our overall, musculoskeletal health. And on an inhale, we'll bring the knees back to center, and we'll go over to the other side. So as you exhale, the knees come to the right. Again, they may or may not reach the ground. The head turns to the left, keeping both shoulders on the floor and just breathing in to any sensations. Making sure you're not tensing the jaw. Close the eyes if it feels nice. Just letting go. Feeling that wonderful stretch all down the left side body. And then inhale, using the strength of the abdominals, we'll come back to center. Bring the knees back into the chest. And then release the feet all the way out. So the legs are long on the mat and the arms are long up above the head. You're going to do a full body stretch. So really stretching. Maybe stretch the left leg long and the right arm long. And then reverse it. Right leg long, left arm long. So we're kind of seesawing the body here. You can do a few of these, really lengthening the spine, stretching out through the legs and the arms. Then from here, take the left hand and circle the thumb and forefinger around the right wrist. Move the feet, both of them, to the left side of the mat, and then you're going to arch the body so you're like a banana. You can pull on this right wrist to just make the stretch a little bit more deeper. Keeping the pelvis facing upwards and the shoulders facing upwards. So we're just doing the side stretch, this lateral bend. Breathing into that side body, feeling it in the right hip and the right ribs. And then inhale back to center. We'll go the other side. So right fingers around the left wrist, feet come, just move them to the right side of the mat, and then banana the body over to the right. So feeling the stretch all here down this side body. You can pull gently on the left wrist, keeping the pelvis and the shoulders facing upwards. Breathe in here. And then inhale back to center. And we'll just bring the knees back into the chest one more time. Squeeze and tight. Maybe rock gently side to side. And then we're going to rock and roll up to seated. Just tuck my microphone back in. And then inhale, rolling up through the length of the spine, all the way, using the core. Then we'll come up and cross over the knees and we'll come into tabletop. So tabletop, also known as 4-point kneeling pose. We want the hands directly underneath the shoulders, the knees directly underneath the hips. Core is engaged. And then we'll move through some cat-cow. So on an inhale, the belly drops and the chest lifts. Imagine you're bringing the chest through the gates of the arms and the head lifts. As you exhale, reverse the movement. So the pelvis tips forward, the head comes down, and really feel a stretch in between the shoulder blades as you round the spine. So inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. And exhale, cat. And then bring the spine back to neutral. And we'll move into some spinal balance. So this really strengthens the spine and the core. Making sure that right hand is directly underneath the right shoulder. And the right knee is under the right hip. And the left knee is under the left hip. On an inhale, we're going to lift this left arm forward and then lift the right leg behind. So really keep this core engaged. Stretch that leg and flex the foot as if you're pushing into a wall. And this left arm is coming out as if you're shaking someone's hand. Then as you exhale, you're going to round in, bring your knee to elbow. Inhale, elongate. Exhale, round. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, round. Inhale, lengthen. And then return to neutral. Second side, left hand under left shoulder, right knee under right hip. Extend that right arm forward, left leg back. Really suck in this core. And then exhale, round. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, round. A bit of wobble in there. Exhale, lengthen. Exhale, round. Inhale, lengthen. And then release. Come now into a back bend, a very gentle one of my favourite ones called Sphinx Pose. So come down onto your front and we're going to bring the elbows directly underneath the shoulders. So legs are parallel, directly going backwards. Ground the pubic bone into the floor and lift up the belly. Elbows are directly underneath the shoulders. Forearms are flat on the floor and the palms are face down. And inhale, lift out of the belly. Shoulders are back and down, neck is long. And just gaze sort of at the front of your mat. Really widening the shoulders, widening the collarbones, breathing into the upper spine. So the most flexible part of our back is the lumbar region, the lower back, and the stiffest part is the upper back, the thoracic, and this is because we have all these ribs to support it. So often when we back bend, we overcompensate and bend the lower spine more. So we want to really try and open up this upper back and feel the bend coming from there as well. Just breathing here. Feels so good. This is a really good posture to do, especially if you're hunched over a desk all day or, sitting in a car, just opening the chest and then slowly release down. So we'll move from here into quite a deep shoulder stretch and just go to whatever your limit is. Pay attention to the sensations in the body and in the shoulder and just go as far as you can. So from here, we're going to bring the left arm out directly parallel to the shoulder with the palm facing down. So you may need a yoga block or a rolled up t-shirt or something here. You're just going to place it underneath your left cheek and turn the head to face towards the right. So this just gives a little bit of support to the neck and the head. If you haven't got one, it's not really a great tragedy, but it just feels better with a block. From here, I'm going to place the right hand on the floor just outside the right side of the mat and then slowly roll onto the left side of the hip. So you're in a straight line. From here, you're going to bring the right leg up, place the foot behind the left leg flat on the floor. So you should feel an intense stretch in this left shoulder, the front of the left shoulder. I mean, I can. And just stay here and settle. Now, if this is too intense for you, you can always just bring the pelvis closer to the floor and that eases off the pressure. But if it feels good, you can have the knee facing upwards. If you want to go even deeper, you can bring the other foot flat to the floor. I'm happy just staying here. You can also clasp the hands together. On this side, I'm quite happy just staying in this pose. So you shouldn't be feeling any pain. There's no pain in yoga, but just go to your edge. So know the difference between your pain and your edge. A few more breaths here. As you settle, you may find that you can just stretch a little bit more. It doesn't matter how deep you get. All that matters is that you feel a stretch. This helps keep our joints really healthy when we stretch them and keep them mobile. When we come out, we'll get a nice rush of fresh blood and nutrients to the joint. And then very slowly stack the hips and release back to the floor. And just take a moment to settle back, and we'll move on to the other side. So this time the right arm comes out directly but parallel to the shoulder with the palm facing downwards. You can put this block underneath the right cheek. Press the left arm into the floor and then slowly roll onto I've got to move this microphone, onto the right hip. You can stay here, or maybe you can bring this left foot to the floor. Again, I'm getting a really deep stretch here in the right shoulder, so I'm happy to stay here, but there are 2 further steps that you can go to if you want to. You can bring the right foot flat to the floor as well, so both knees are pointing upwards, and you can bind the hands behind as well. Just breathe here. Feel that stretch. Feels so good. Again, this is a great one to do if you sitting in a car all day, wearing heavy kit, or sitting at a computer. Everything we do is anterior. It's always to the front of the body. Picking up shopping, picking up dogs, picking up kids. Everything is anterior, so it feels good to open the front body. And then very slowly we'll come back to center. Release the block to the side. We'll come into crocodile. So both hands are stacked on top of each other. The forehead comes to the palms or to the back of the hands, and the heels come towards each other, so your feet are splaying outwards and sort of the big toe bone is touching the floor. So this is crocodile pose, and just lay here for a moment, resettle into the body. And then slowly bring the legs back to parallel, big toes touching, and we'll just push back into a child's pose. So you can bring the knees as wide as the mat, seat to the heels, and just bring the belly between the thighs and reach the arms out in front, forehead to the mat, and just melt down. So when you are in a wide-legged child's pose, it's getting more into the hips. Feels good to stretch this area, feel it in the glutes. If you can't bring your seat to your heels, you can always put a blanket to give you support. Sometimes if you've got very tight quads or knees, then you may not be able to do this posture. Just melt down. Feel the compression in the hips. And breathe. And then on an inhale, we'll slowly come back up. And we'll move into a seated forward fold. So, come onto the seat, with the legs stretched out in front of you. I'll just get a blanket here to demonstrate. So sometimes if you've got very tight hamstrings, it's impossible to sit in this posture like this. And you'll find that your back is rounding and you're struggling to keep the spine straight. It's very important to keep the spine straight. So you can just sit up on a blanket, elevate the hips slightly, and that should make it feel a lot better. So it's an option there. If you don't have anything to sit on, you can always just have the knees bent And that way you'll keep the spine nice and straight. So I'm okay having my legs straight and not elevating my hips. So we'll pull the flesh of the buttocks straight back so the sit bones are grounded into the floor. In an inhale, lift the arms up, lengthen out of the spine, and then you're going to tip from the hips coming forward. So we don't want to round from the upper back. This is not doing anything for us. Some people think that the goal of this pose is to grab the toes. So people will do this. This isn't actually doing anything except, maybe stretching the upper back a little bit. So we don't want to worry about touching the toes. We want to lengthen out of the spine, tip forward from the hips. So the movement is coming from the hips and the lower back. And the hands, they may come to the shins, they may come to the floor. You may be able to grab the feet. Don't worry about grabbing the feet. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale, descend. Now, we want to keep the spine as straight as possible for as long as possible. And when you get to the point where you can't keep it straight as you bend, then you can sink forward and relax down. And then start to settle. So as you let go and settle into the pose, you may find you can go a little bit deeper. So quite often when I do this posture, I might be quite sort of elevated, but as I relax down, I can get deeper and deeper into it. You can also, if you've got your blanket handy, just give yourself a little bit of support. So you've got something, to make it more restorative. And you can melt down into this blanket or whatever you put across your legs. And just breathe. So these forward folds are really calming. They stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part of our nervous system that calms us down, slows us down. So these are great to do in the evening or maybe in the morning when you just finished night shift and you're preparing for bed. When you do back bends, they're very energizing and uplifting. And forward bends are the complete opposite. So a few more breaths here. Last breath. Then inhale, lengthen out of the spine, and we'll slowly come back up to seated. So we'll do another seated forward bend, this time with a hip opener. So I'll face you for this one. So the legs are both out in front. You're going to bring the right knee in, foot flat to the floor, and just allow it to flop open. So we want the right, the palm of the foot, the sole of the foot along the inside of the left thigh. So as it comes out, you may find that your leg is elevated off the ground. Mine is. It all depends on how open your hips are. So sometimes for me this is flat to the floor and other times it's slightly elevated. It doesn't matter. Inhale, lift out of the waist, and as you exhale, you're going to tip forward again from this pelvis, not the upper back. You may reach your shin, you may reach your foot. Inhale, lengthen, and then exhale, just descend down. So this one is getting into the right outer hip. So this is external rotation, and into the left hamstring. Again, don't be attached to how far you get into the pose. This pose is actually called Janu Shirsasana, which is head to knee pose. So I probably can get my head to my knee, but I'm quite happy here. When we injure ourselves in yoga classes, it's usually down to two reasons. One is ego, and the second is poor alignment. And ego is probably responsible for 95% of injuries. Remember, go to your edge. Don't compete with anyone, not even yourself. Listen to your body and do what you can do. Be content with where you are today. And inhale, lengthen. We'll come back up. Return the right leg out front, and we'll do the second side. So bringing the left knee in, and then allow it to fall open. So for me, my left side's a lot more open than my right, and you will find this as you practice that you will notice the imbalance in your body. Inhale, lengthen the arms up, and exhale, come forward. Inhale, lengthen, and then exhale, descend. So another forward bend here. Long, deep breaths. Make sure that jaw's relaxed. Shoulders are away from the ears. You're not tensing any part of the body that you don't need to. And inhale, come up and return to neutral. So we'll do a wide-legged seated side bend. So bring your legs out. They don't have to be really wide. You don't have to need them at 180 degrees, just as whatever feels good for you. 90 degrees or smaller, that's fine. Just make sure that your knees are facing upwards and your feet are flexed and facing upwards. And you can do a little inner rotation of the thighs, the inner spiral. Lengthen out of the waist. And we're going to turn and face the left leg. So I'm not mirroring you. And so the torso will face over this left leg. You're going to take the right arm. Imagine you're serving a platter of chocolate covered strawberries. You can place this left arm on top of, the right arm on top of the right leg. Inhale, the left arm open. So we're really opening this chest. Now you can stay here, or you can start to descend over to the right. So we want to keep this chest open and feel the stretch here in the left side body. Now, if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can bring this right elbow inside the right leg. It gives you a bit of sort of leverage, and this left arm comes over. So you can stay here, or you may be able to reach this right foot. But we're more interested in opening the chest and stretching the side than grabbing the toe. And then slowly descend. You can, if you like, grab the right foot with the right hand as well. Breathe in here. This is a very deep side stretch. Feet are flexed and knees are facing upwards. One more breath. And then inhale, we'll slowly come back up and go to the other side. So we turn to face the right leg. The left arm opens. This time you're going to serve some sparkling orange juice. Place that left arm on top of the left thigh and inhale, the right arm open. Keeping this chest wide and open. And then descend over to the left. Again, you can stay here because what we're interested in is keeping the chest open and stretching this right side body. If it feels good to you, you can bring the left arm inside the left leg, and maybe this right arm comes all the way over and grabs the toe. Maybe you grab the foot with your left hand as well. Feet are flexed, knees are to the ceiling. And you're breathing into this stretch. I think side bends are probably my favourite back bend. One more breath here. And then inhale, we'll come slowly back up. And get the hands underneath the knees and use your hands to bring your legs back in. And we're going to move on to the back and just do a hip stretch. So roll all the way down, use the strength of the abdominals to just lower you slowly down, as slow as you can go. And then feet come flat to the floor with the knees to the ceiling. So we'll take the right leg and you're going to bend it, externally rotate it, and bring this right ankle above the left knee. So you should be feeling external rotation in this right thigh. Make sure you keep this right foot flexed because that will protect your knee. And you can stay here. If this might be enough of a stretch in the right outer hip for you. If you want a little bit more, you can bring this left foot up off the floor using the power of the left thigh to bring this foot and this leg closer into the body. If you want to go deeper, you can reach through and grab the back of the thigh, or if it's available to you, you can grab the shin. But you don't be attached to these different hand positions. All you want to do is feel the stretch in the right outer hip. So remember to keep this right foot flexed. This right knee is going outwards and the movement is coming from the right outer hip. And just keeping the spine flat to the floor. Breathe here. So you can close your eyes and focus on that right outer hip where you should be feeling the sensation. As you breathe, imagine you're sending the breath there, bringing awareness to that area. If you run or cycle, it's likely that your hips are quite tight, especially for outer rotation. And this is such a great posture to do to open the hips. We also hold a lot of emotions in our hips. This is all linked to the second chakra, Spinal chakra. And sometimes when you're in these hip openers, you can feel a discomfort that's something more than physical. It's more like an emotional discomfort, and you can be desperate to get out of them. I know I certainly have been at times. It's very subtle and it's hard to sort of articulate into words, but you feel a sensation that is not a physical pain, if that makes sense. One more breath here, and then we'll slowly release and move to the other side. So you're going to bring this, you're externally rotating this left hip, bringing the left foot, the left ankle on top of the right knee, keeping this left foot flexed. Remember, you can stay here if this is enough for you. So this left knee is going out and the movement is coming from this hip. Or you can bring it, lift up the foot and bring it in closer to the body. If you want more, you can interlace the hands around the back of the thigh or around the shin and bringing this left leg in closer to the body, knees moving away and the foot's coming in closer, so the movement is coming from the outer hip. And breathe here. So you've probably found that one side is a lot different to the other. For me, my left hip is a lot more open than my right. And that's just normal. We are humans, we're not machines. So it's normal to have imbalances. We favor one side of the body to the other. You know, I write with my right hand, I can't write with my left hand. So it's expected that we have imbalances in other ways in the body as well. Breathe in here. Noticing if anything is coming up for you emotionally. Yeah, I've done some of these hip openers, and at times when I've been really stressed and I've actually just started crying in the class, that, you know, a reaction that I had no control over, and I get this release. So it's not uncommon to stir up deep emotions when you're in some of these poses. And then very slowly release down, bring that foot back to the floor. What you can do is just windshield wiper the legs here, so feet come as wide as the mat. Just allow the knees to fall gently to each side, releasing the hips. And then we'll come into one more hip opener. Bringing the knees into the chest, separate the knees so they're facing each respective armpit. You can bring the feet up to the sky as if you're standing on the sky. You can reach up and grab the outside of the feet and pull the knees close to the armpits. Now, if you can't reach your feet, you can always press on the back of the thighs here. So you want to keep the spine long on the floor. You don't want to sort of have your butt up like this. Really try and keep the tailbone glued to the floor, pulling the knees into the armpits. This is a deep compression in the hips. This also gets into the glutes and into the hamstrings. And just breathe here. So this is called Happy Baby, Ananda Balasana. And if you like and it feels good, you can just rock gently from side to side, massaging out that lower back. This will be our final pose before we move into final relaxation. So gently release the feet and just bring the knees in again close to the chest. And then one by one, just extend them out slowly. Allow the feet to flop open. Tuck the shoulders under the back. Arms come down parallel to the body with the palms facing upwards. You shouldn't have any part of the body touching another part. Lengthen the back of the neck and tuck the chin slightly. And then close the eyes. Just melt into the floor. You can let go of any controlled breathing that you might have been doing. Just return to a normal breath pattern. Make sure the jaw is relaxed and the tongue is away from the roof of the mouth. Just allow the body to settle into the earth. Let go of any judgment that you made about yourself during this class. Sometimes we can be pretty hard on ourselves mentally in a yoga class if we can't do a pose as we feel we should be able to do it. Just remember that everybody's body is different. Everybody has a different story as to where their bodies are, where their mind is. The only person that you should compare yourself to is yourself. Wherever you are right now is the only place you need to be. And then slowly start to wiggle the fingers and toes, bringing life back into the body. You may want to do a full body stretch, so interlace the fingers, stretch them overhead and your feet in the opposite direction. You can bring the knees into the chest, give yourself a little squeeze, and then gently allow your body to fall over to the right side. So you're curled up in a little ball in the fetal position. You can bring the palms together, place them underneath the cheek just to support the head. Just stay here for a moment. And then when you're ready, and it feels right for you, slowly push up, keeping the eyes closed, to a seated position. You can sit cross-legged, or you can sit on your shins with your seat to your heels, whatever feels good for you. Keeping the spine straight and the shoulders away from the ears. You can place the palms on the knees. This is very grounding. Center in on the breath. Bring the palms together in front of the chest, thumbs into the sternum. Feel the beat of your heart. And I'll close this practice. Thank you for taking this time with me on the mat. Hopefully you're feeling calm and relaxed. You've let go of the stresses of the day. Until next time, namaste.